SPY and VOO both track the S&P 500, so why do investors still argue about which one is better? At first glance, this comparison looks almost pointless. Same index, similar holdings, similar long-term performance. But once you look closer, the decision becomes more interesting because SPY and VOO may give you almost the same market exposure, but they are not always the same tool for the same investor. One may be better for long-term buy and hold investors. The other may be better for traders, options users, and short-term market exposure. So in this video, we are going to compare SPY versus VOO in 2026 and answer the real question: which S&P 500 ETF is actually better for the job? The reason this debate gets confusing is simple. SPY and VOO look almost the same from the outside. Both are S&P 500 ETFs. Both give exposure to large U.S. companies. Both are market cap weighted. Both can be used as a core holding in a portfolio. And because they follow the same index, their performance should usually move in the same direction. But investing is not only about what an ETF owns. It is also about cost, liquidity, taxes, trading needs, holding period, and investor behavior. That is where the comparison starts to matter. So before we pick a winner, we need to separate the part that is almost identical from the part that is actually different. The biggest similarity is the index. SPY and VOO both track the S&P 500. That means both are built around exposure to large U.S. companies. For a beginner, the simple version is this: you are not buying one company. You are buying a basket of major American businesses through one ETF. For an intermediate investor, the next layer is this: the S&P 500 is market cap weighted, so bigger companies have more influence inside the index. And for advanced investors, that means the risk is not just 500 companies. The real risk is how much influence the largest companies have over the whole ETF. So yes, SPY and VOO start from the same foundation, but the product decision is still not identical. One major advantage of both SPY and VOO is that they reduce single company risk. If you buy one individual stock, your result depends heavily on that one business. If the company performs well, great. If it fails, disappoints, or gets overvalued, your portfolio can take a serious hit. An S&P 500 ETF spreads that exposure across many large companies. That is a big improvement for most investors. But there is a catch. Reducing single company risk does not remove market risk. SPY and VOO can still fall during bear markets. They can still go through painful drawdowns, and they can still test your discipline. So both ETFs are simple, but simple does not mean risk-free. Now we get to the first major difference: cost. VOO has an expense ratio of 0.03%. SPY has a gross expense ratio of 0.0945%. That difference may look tiny, and for 1 month it almost does not matter. But for a long-term investor holding for 10, 20, or 30 years, small costs can quietly add up. This matters even more when two ETFs are tracking the same index. If the exposure is almost the same and the performance path is expected to be very similar, then a lower cost becomes a real advantage. This is why for buy and hold investors, VOO immediately becomes very hard to ignore. Fees are boring, and that is exactly why many investors ignore them. Nobody gets excited about saving a few basis points. It does not make a flashy headline. It does not feel like a big investing breakthrough. But boring costs matter because they come out of your return every year. Not once, every year. When two funds give you nearly the same S&P 500 exposure, paying more needs a reason. For some investors, SPY does have a reason, and we will get there. But if you are simply buying an S&P 500 ETF and holding it for decades, the lower cost fund has a clear edge. Not a dramatic edge, a boring edge. But boring edges compound. Now let's talk about where SPY fights back. Liquidity. SPY is one of the most actively traded ETFs in the world. It has massive trading volume, tight spreads, and an extremely active options market. That matters for traders. It matters for institutions. It matters for people using option strategies. It matters for tactical exposure when execution quality is important. VOO is also very liquid for normal investors. If you are buying shares once a month and holding for retirement, VOO is not some illiquid product hiding in the corner. But SPY's liquidity profile is different, and this is where the comparison becomes less about which ETF is better and more about what are you using it for. The question is not whether SPY has stronger trading liquidity. It does. The better question is whether you actually need that feature. If you are an active trader, SPY's volume, options market, and spreads can matter a lot. If you are buying and holding inside a retirement account for the next few decades, that advantage may not matter very much. This is the core of the whole comparison. SPY is stronger where trading mechanics matter. VOO is stronger where low-cost long-term holding matters. A trader and a long-term investor can look at the same two ETFs and reach different conclusions, and both can be right, because the best feature depends on the job. SPY and VOO are also not perfect clones. SPY is the older ETF and has a different structure. VOO is Vanguard's S&P 500 ETF, built with a strong, low-cost buy and hold identity. For most everyday investors, the technical structure is not the first thing that matters. Costs, taxes, liquidity, account type, and investment goal usually matter more. But it is still worth knowing that same index does not mean identical product. Two ETFs can track the same benchmark and still differ in structure, operations, trading behavior, and small performance details. That does not make one automatically good and the other bad. It just means the comparison deserves more than a lazy answer. So what actually matters for most investors? Start with cost, then look at use case, then liquidity, then taxes, then holding period, then account type. If you are in a Roth IRA and investing for the long term, the decision may be simple. Lower cost and long-term simplicity can matter more. If you are in a taxable brokerage account and already own SPY with large gains, switching just to save a small annual fee may create a tax issue. If you are trading options, SPY may make more sense. So the smart answer is not just SPY or VOO. The smart answer is which one fits the situation. That is how you avoid turning a useful comparison into a ticker fight. Some investors ask which one has the better dividend yield. But for SPY versus VOO, dividends are not the main story. Both funds track the same index, so their dividend profiles are usually driven by the same underlying companies. There may be small differences because of expenses, timing, structure, or distribution mechanics, but this is not a dividend ETF comparison. Neither SPY nor VOO is designed primarily as a dividend income strategy. They are S&P 500 exposure tools. So if someone is choosing between them only because one yield looks slightly higher at a specific moment, they may be focusing on the wrong thing. The bigger decision is cost versus liquidity and long-term holding versus active trading. Performance should be close. That is important because both ETFs track the same S&P 500 index. You should not expect one to completely destroy the other over time. Small differences can come from expense ratios, tracking, dividend timing, and fund structure, but the core exposure is still the same. If someone says SPY or VOO will massively outperform the other because of some secret advantage, be careful. This is not a comparison between a growth stock and a bond fund. It is a comparison between two S&P 500 ETFs. So the performance question is not about expecting a huge gap. It is about choosing the cleaner tool for your use case. And now that we have the main differences, we can make this practical. Before we turn this into a practical decision, this is the kind of comparison we focus on at Boring Money Wins. Simple investing. No hype, no panic, no pretending that every tiny difference is a life-changing secret. Just clear frameworks that help you understand what you own and why you own it. If this breakdown is useful, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps the channel grow, and it tells YouTube to show more no-hype investing content to people who actually want it. Now, let's use everything we covered and answer the real question. Which ETF is better for long-term investors, and which one is better for traders? For long-term buy and hold investors, VOO has the edge. The reason is not exciting, it is cost. If you are buying an S&P 500 ETF and holding it for decades, you probably care more about lower expenses than extreme trading volume. You are not trying to move in and out of the fund every day. You are not trying to trade options around it. You're not using it for tactical market exposure. You're using it as a long-term core position. And for that job, lower costs matters. VOO gives the same general S&P 500 exposure with a lower expense ratio. That makes it a strong choice for boring long-term investors. And that is exactly the point. But this does not mean every SPY investor should immediately switch to VOO. That would be too simplistic. If you own SPY inside a tax-advantageous account, switching may be easier. But if you own SPY in a taxable brokerage account, selling could create a taxable gain, and that tax cost might be larger than the fee savings for a long time. So the decision is different for new money versus existing money. New long-term money may favor VOO, but an existing SPY position needs more thought. Account type matters, taxes matter, your cost basis matters, your time horizon matters. Lower cost is important, but lower cost does not automatically mean sell today. For trading and options, SPY has the edge. This is where SPY's design and market presence really matter. SPY has massive volume, it has deep liquidity, it has an extremely active options market. That makes it useful for traders, institutions, hedging strategies, and short-term tactical exposure. VOO can be excellent for long-term investors, but it is not trying to be the main trading vehicle of the market. That is the difference. SPY is better for market action. VOO is usually better for boring holding. And the funny thing is, that boring answer is probably more useful for most everyday investors, because most people are not professional traders. They are trying to build wealth over time. So the real question is not only which ETF is better. The real question is, what kind of investor are you? If you are a long-term investor buying every month and holding for decades, VOO probably makes more sense. If you are an active trader, options user, or someone who needs maximum liquidity, SPY may make more sense. The mistake is using the wrong ETF for the wrong job. A buy and hold investor does not need to pay extra for features they never use. A trader should not ignore liquidity just because another fund has a lower expense ratio. The product has to match the behavior, because the best ETF is not the one that sounds smarter. It is the one that fits how you actually invest. There is also a third ETF that often enters this conversation, IVV. IVV is another major S&P 500 ETF, and for purely long-term investors, the real comparison may not only be SPY versus VOO, it may also include IVV. That matters because SPY is often famous because of its trading dominance, while VOO and IVV are often discussed more as low-cost, long-term S&P 500 vehicles. We do not need to turn this video into a full three-way breakdown, but it is worth knowing that SPY is not the only alternative to VOO. If you are comparing S&P 500 ETFs for long-term investing, IVV deserves a look too. That can be a full video by itself. Now let's cover the common mistakes. Mistake number 1 is choosing SPY just because it is famous. Mistake number 2 is choosing VOO only because it is cheaper without understanding your use case. Mistake number 3 is switching in a taxable account without thinking about capital gains. Mistake number 4 is expecting a huge performance gap between two funds tracking the same index. Mistake number 5 is buying both by accident. And mistake number 6 is confusing trading with investing. These mistakes happen because investors focus on the ticker instead of the role. The better question is not which ETF sounds cooler. The better question is, what job do I need this ETF to do? Buying both SPY and VOO is usually not diversification. It is duplication. That does not mean it is illegal, crazy, or always terrible. But in most portfolios, owning both does not add much new exposure. They track the same index. They hold similar underlying companies. They move in very similar ways. So if an investor owns both, they should know why. Maybe there is a tax reason. Maybe there is an account reason. Maybe one position is old and another is new. But buying both just because both are popular is not a strategy. It is clutter. And boring money wins is not about portfolio clutter, it's about clear roles. So here's the practical verdict. For buy and hold investors, VOO has the edge. Lower cost, simple structure, and strong fit for long-term S&P 500 exposure. For traders and options users, SPY has the edge. Liquidity, volume, and options activity matter in that world. For people who already own SPY, do not switch blindly. Look at taxes, account type, unrealized gains, and whether the difference is worth it. And for people starting fresh with long-term money, VOO is probably the cleaner choice. This is not because SPY is bad. SPY is an extremely important ETF. But the better ETF depends on the job, and most everyday investors are not trading, they are building. The boring answer is usually the useful one. SPY and VOO are both strong S&P 500 ETFs, but they are not automatically equal for every investor. SPY is better when trading mechanics matter. VOO is better when low-cost long-term holding matters. That is the whole lesson. Do not choose the most famous ticker, do not choose the cheapest ticker blindly. Choose the ETF that fits the job. Because good investing is not about collecting products. It's about building a system you can understand, fund consistently, and hold through market noise. That is boring, and that is why it works, because boring money usually wins. Not because it's exciting, but because boring money usually survives.